Welcome. Thank you. Better. Alimi, right? Alimi Bash, Joel. I see you. I see you. Daniel Kundi. Welcome. Good afternoon, Samaila Ibrahim. Good afternoon, everyone. Fimbog, Nambo, right? Yes, I think you're the first person online. I saw you this afternoon. Welcome, my brother. My name is Nicholas again, and I'll be hosting the program once again for today. And I want to kickstart the program fully. Jamil Bashir, right? Yes. Bashir, welcome. Welcome. Good afternoon. I'll be welcoming Mr. Farouk, that is our facilitator today. We'll be dealing with, hello, somebody is about to talk, right? Hello, Sheil. Okay, so the topic for today is promoting youth participation in governance. And we have a brother, a friend, a colleague, a boss that will be doing justice to that today. And it's no other person, it's Mr. Ibrahim Farouk. He's an active Nigerian citizen who resides in Abuja. He holds a Bachelor of Science, science degree, second class of power in political science from the University of Jos. I graduated in 2008, and a Master's of Science in Conflict Management and Peace Studies from the University of Jos. His areas of interest include, but are not limited to, indigent settler conflict, citizen and youth participation in democracy and governance, and gender issues. Ibrahim has over 10 years experience in democracy and good governance and cross-cutting field, and is currently the program manager for the governance and development program at Yaga Africa. At Yaga Africa, Ibrahim has built the capacity of over 200 organizers in Nigeria and across West Africa who have been instrumental in leading advocacy campaigns and movement in their communities. As the national coordinator of the Not Too Young to Run movement, which successfully amended the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, his work has contributed to increasing the political participation of youth in Nigeria political system. He is a part of the leadership and strategic team of the Not Too Young to Run. Mr. Ibrahim is a contributor to national discourse and appears regularly on national TV and radio. May I tell you that Mr. Farouk is a seasoned facilitator. Can you all hear me? I just want to see a yes on the chat box. I will run down the timetable for you today, all of you, including our facilitator, so that we will be on the same page. And he's a seasoned facilitator and a community mobilizer. He's a very good friend of LITOT Development Initiative, and we want to welcome him especially. But before then, I will let you know that this is the opening introduction has just commenced. I've introduced Mr. Farouk, and Mr. Farouk will take the first topic from 1:10 to 2:10, 1 hour, for him to deal with the topic decisively. And question and answer will come between 10:10 to 10:25. That's like a 15 minutes time for question and answer. And the second topic that will be coming up, it's on the second topic. It's on just a minute. Freedom of Information Act to promote good governance, and that will be taken by Mr. Sheon Justice on Maride as a program officer with LITOT Development Initiative. And the class poll will commence immediately after that. That is about 2:25 to 3:25. That will be for Mr. Sheon. And the class poll will commence 3:35. Then We will make announcement by 3:40, and we close. We'll wrap up for the day. Yes, thank you, Mr. Farouk. I can see you already on with us with your video. And so please, can we make welcome to Mr. Ibrahim Farouk? So the floor is yours. Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Farouk? Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, please? If you can hear me, you can just drop a message either in the chat box, just to indicate that you can hear me, and also that you can see me. Okay, thank you very much. I'm seeing some of your responses. First of all, let me just start by saying thank you to the team led by Sheun Justin and the entire lead thoughts team. Thank you for your consistent engagement in building the capacity of young people, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. It is very important that we ensure young people find ways that we can participate. And for my session today, I'm just going to be sharing some examples, talking about how young people can effectively participate in our various governance structures. So we'll talk about youth participation as a whole. We'll also talk about what are some of the obstacles and challenges. And then as much as possible, I'll just try and share some learnings about us to learn from those as well. We can learn from that. Let me also just state that apologies. I am out of the office. I'm also on the field, so I've had to find a background that for us to have this conversation. But what I'm going to do is I have a presentation that I have prepared, and I'm going to speak about it, talk to it really quickly. And then after that, we'll just continue the conversation. So I hope you can see my screen. If you can, that's good. So I'll be talking about promoting youth participation in governance. My name is Ibrahim Farouk. I manage a governance and development program at Yaga Africa. Some of you might be familiar with some of the work that we have done around a campaign called Not Too Young to Run. And I'm proud to say that I was an active member of the Not Too Young to Run, still an active member of the Not Too Young to Run movement. And some of you here might have also participated as members when they were around Not Too Young to Run in your various states. But one of the things that I'm just going to ask that you do, and please at any time, if you can't hear me or see me, please just try and drop a message so that I'm sure everyone can listen to me. But if you can just go in the chat box really quickly and I just want to find a way to engage with you. So if you have a nickname, just drop your nickname in the chat box. And also if you have a favorite emoji, so if you have a favorite emoji, just drop your nickname and drop your favorite emoji in the chat box. Some people like that one that looks like it's laughing and crying at the same time. Your favorite one might be that one about love. Your favorite one might be a star. Whichever one it is, just okay. I can see somebody has dropped 2 fingers. Someone has dropped okay, Mr. TK, Mama Agric. These are very interesting nicknames, and it's just a way for us to also learn. I know sometimes when we have these virtual engagements, we're not able to connect as much, and we look forward to the time. And I know the time is coming very soon when the next training will not be virtual, but it will be physical, so we can get to meet each other. I can see Alimi Bash Joel. So getting back into the presentation, I'm talking about promoting youth participation. If there's one thing that I know for sure, is that young people, we have talent, we're knowledgeable, we have ambitious, we're very ambitious. And in our various communities, wherever we are always doing different things. We are leaders in our communities. And if there's one thing I want you, one of the first things I want you to learn from this presentation today, if you're taking notes, is that we are all leaders. And why I say this is that leadership is not just a position. For us, where I work at Yaga Africa, we understand leadership as responsibility. And our definition of responsibility is taken from a training by an American professor. And he says, leadership is accepting responsibility to enable others to achieve purpose under conditions of uncertainty. Let me just say that is enabling others to achieve purpose of uncertainty. And what that means is, wherever you are, you take responsibility for one thing or another. You don't have to be called executive director. You don't have to be called executive director in your organization for you to be a leader. You don't have to be called program manager. You don't have to be called president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You don't have to be called the executive governor of Adamawa or Borno or Yobe or Bauchi or Taraba, whatever state it is. But for us as young people, we have skills, we have knowledge, and we need to bring this into the space around active citizenship. And there are so many opportunities for us as young people to practice civic engagement. And it's very important for us to build this culture of civic engagement from a very important age, because as we transition to adulthood, right now, many of us are called young people, we're called youths, but we're in that stage where we're transiting from youth to adulthood. And we need to transit with that culture of civic engagement. We need to move away from that culture of sit down look, to say, something is happening in my community. I'm going to take responsibility. And by taking responsibility, I am demonstrating leadership. And I'll be talking about leadership as I go through this presentation as well. There are many different expressions, different ways for formal participation that young people can be engaged in. So whether this is from engaging as members of political parties, to running for elections, to mobilizing young people to come out to register and vote, whether it is leading social movements, holding government accountable, all these form a broad spectrum of what we call civic engagement. And through civic engagement, as young people, we develop skills to solve problems. And these skills help us throughout the rest of our lives as we transition from this youth age to adulthood. It helps to build self-esteem. It helps to build our leadership capacity. And many times when they say, oh, young people don't have experience, why should we vote for this man or this woman, this young guy or this young girl? Because they don't have experience. But where do you get experience? Experience is from the things you have done in your community. If you are an SUG president or the head of an association in your community or in your school, that is leadership. That is also a form of civic engagement. And civic engagement is nurtured, among other things, by civic empowerment. And when we empower ourselves to make informed decisions, to take part in what happens in societal matters, and we're empowering ourselves. One of the easiest ways for us to empower ourselves as young leaders, as young civic leaders, is by registering to vote. That is one of the most effective ways. But beyond just registering to vote, and I think this is very important, is one, you register to vote. Secondly, is you collect your permanent voter's card. Third, is you come out and vote on election day. INEC has already released the dates for the 2023 general elections. So on February 25th, 2023, by God's grace, there will be elections for the President and National Assembly seats, while on March 11th, 2023, by the grace of God, there will be elections for about 29 gubernatorial seats and for 991 state houses of assembly across 36 states. And we must find ways that we can get involved. I can almost say that if I was organizing this program, one of the criteria for participation would be that you must be a registered voter. But I'm not going to ask. I wish I could ask. I don't want to put any of you on the spot. But if you have not registered to vote for the 2023 elections, I would advise that please let us ensure that we all register to vote and we engage in this process. An enabling environment also means that young people are able to participate effectively in what happens around us. And one of the things I love about this youth civic engagement program, and kudos to Sheldon and your entire team for designing a beautiful module, is that you learn so many different things about what happens around the political system, around policy, around legislation. And I know later today you'll be hearing about the Freedom of Information Act. You would hear practical experiences from young men and women who have run for office. But an enabling environment consists of policies that promote young people's participation at various levels. So whether you're looking at things like the National Youth Policy, or at a continental level, looking at the African Youth Charter, or at a regional level, looking at the ECOWAS Youth Policy, what these do is to ensure that young people are protected by legislation or policy in a way that we can effectively participate in things that affect us. Why is it important for young people to participate in some of these formal political processes? Let me tell you why. A democracy is about representation, it's about inclusion, and it's about participation, meaning all groups, all interests must be represented, whether you like them or not. Everyone has a voice. So whether you're old or young, whether you're tall or you're short, whether you're black like me, or you're yellow like Sheun, each and every one of us has a voice and has an interest, and our voices need to be represented. So whether you worship on Friday or you worship on Sunday, whether you belong to ABC political party or XYZ political party, everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a voice and interest. And I'm sure this is one of the things that you have heard recently, that young people make up at least over 50% of the population. So you ask yourself, why do we have young people making up over 50% of the population? But youth representation is less than 3%, maybe when it comes to young people in elective offices. When it comes to some other things like youth participation, voter turnout, you might get up to 50% in some states, but the average turnout for youth participation across the country is just about 30%. It tells me that something is wrong, and young people need to be adequately represented in political institutions. So that is political parties, state house of assembly, the National Assembly, if there are committees, ministries, departments, or agencies, young people need to be represented there. But there are also processes, and some of these processes are like the process to register and vote, the electoral process. Because the electoral process is not just one day. It's not just what happens on the 25th of February or the 11th of March. It's an entire process that starts. As we ended the elections in 2019, a new process has started towards 2023. Young people must also know their rights and be given the necessary knowledge and capacity to participate in meaningful ways. And if you don't know it, you're very privileged to be part of this program, because you're going to be exposed to so many different speakers. You're going to learn so many things. You're going to be given the necessary knowledge and your capacity to participate in meaningful ways. But one of the things that I want to emphasize is that beyond just building your own capacity. Hey, Fatima, we can hear you, and I'm in Azatuzo. But please, if you can just mute yourself so we can have this presentation. When you have the necessary knowledge and your capacity is built, you also have a responsibility to take action, or a responsibility to Okay. So thank you to the admin, so that everyone can hear us. Sometimes there are obstacles to participating in formal processes. And because there are obstacles that young people face, many times we feel disempowered, or we feel that our voices are not heard or will be taken seriously. And then as a result of this, we start to lose trust. Young people become insensitive to those processes. But one thing I would say about that, anyone who feels that, oh, young people are disempowered, it is to remember that Rome was not built in a day, or the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Yes, we know there are those challenges, we know there are those obstacles, but we must continue to engage and find ways to innovatively organize, innovatively mobilize, and strategize around these obstacles to ensure that we can get the full participation and engagement of young people in civic processes. So there are so many actors that have roles to play. The election management bodies have roles to play, political parties have roles to play, civil society organizations have roles to play, the media have roles to play. And I'm mentioning the stakeholders because it is my hope and belief that after this training, we're going to see the participants from this training leading campaigns, leading movements, leading activities, using what you have learned, what we have learned from this training, to increase the engagement and the participation of young people in civic matters in the various states that we represent. There are some major issues when it comes to participation for young people, and I'll just try to speak about them very briefly. If you can see my screen, it says that young people under the age of 35 are rarely found, and I'm looking at the last paragraph. Young people under the age of 35 are rarely found in political leadership positions. And I can tell you, for instance, I am currently in Sokoto, and I'm meeting with youth leaders from various local governments, and none of these youth leaders are under the age of 35. And these are youth political party youth leaders. Over the past 2 days, I've met with about 50 youth leaders from various local governments in Sokoto, and maybe just one or two of them are under the age of 35. So this is definitely a major issue that we need to correct. But we're not going to dwell on that right now because we know change is a gradual process. Some of you might remember that when we first returned to democracy, one of the major political parties had a youth leader that was about 60 years old, and many people laughed at them. But look at us 22 years after we returned to democracy. That political party now has a youth leader, a national youth leader that is 25 years old. That shows that there is change and there is progress. And we can be thankful for that. Why this is important is that we're going to get more young people in formal leadership positions. And when we have more young people in formal leadership positions, they can open up the door for many more young people. While it is important that, oh yes, we definitely have young people, for instance, in those formal leadership positions in political parties, for instance, but beyond just the office of the youth leader, it would be amazing to see a young national chairman or a young national organizing secretary or a young national legal advisor in those various political parties and in those decision-making spaces. But I'll just move forward and we'll talk about what are some of the obstacles that we face. And in the course of this presentation, I've spoken about them. Some of them, these obstacles can be classified as being structural, individual, or organizational, and there are different levels. And I'll talk about some of them. Some of the structural obstacles, for instance, to young people's participation in governance is the age requirements to vote or run for office. So when you turn 18, you're eligible to vote, but you're not eligible to be voted for. And so that is a huge challenge. Before now, for you to be voted for, you have to wait at 12 years. So from the time you're 18, you have to wait until you're about 30 years old to contest for House of Reps or House of Assembly. But through the work of the Not Too Young to Run movement, that age requirement has been reduced by a few years. So now you can run for House of Assembly or House of Representatives when you're 25 years old. In some countries, there are age restrictions in campaigning, meaning you cannot campaign for a candidate if you're not up to a certain age. We know that there are increased costs for forms for office, and almost across various political parties, the cost to buy the nomination forms runs into millions of naira. We also have social and cultural traditions, and we are aware of the fact that many of us in northern Nigeria know that many of these traditions limit young people, and especially young women, who seem to be at a double jeopardy, meaning one, you're constrained because you're a young person, and secondly, you're constrained because you're a young woman, and it means it's almost like you have to work twice as hard every time to be able to overcome some of these obstacles. There are also individual obstacles. We don't trust our political institutions, or we lack confidence and trust in the election management bodies. And I'm sure many of us have heard the saying, oh, my votes will not count, or they have already decided who is going to win. And those comments come from a place that shows a lack of confidence and trust in political institutions such as the electoral management bodies. But some other individual obstacles are lack of access or knowledge about the political process. So some people don't know when continuous voter registration is going to close, or you don't know that if you registered before and you have moved to a new address, that you can transfer your voters registration instead of registering afresh. And then we also have social and economic exclusion and marginalization. The truth is that young people are in the bottom half when it comes to economic empowerment, and we're marginalized, and we know that, there's an influence of money in our politics, and as a young person, you need some resources, no matter how little, to participate in our politics. We have organizational obstacles, such as lack of youth policies in various institutions that in a sustainable manner. Within our political parties as well, they are organized in ways that do not allow young people to effectively participate. Our interrupted electoral cycles, and we can see recently with many different court rulings, how many politicians are having their tenures interrupted. But that's a conversation for another day. When we talk about youth and governance in Africa, we have some normative frameworks that help to promote this. Some of these are like the African Youth Charter, the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. What these frameworks do is they help protect the rights of young people at a continental level. And I'll just also advise, in my last slide, I spoke about some of those obstacles. It's very important for us as young people to arm ourselves with knowledge about these things and how they help us as young people. We've had success stories across Africa of how young people have participated very effectively. And just recently, for instance, we saw the elections in Zambia, where young people came out en masse. Normally, when you look at elections across the world, you can hardly have up to 40% voter turnout. But in Zambia, we saw between over 60%. And this was largely because young people decided we're going to take our destiny into our own hands and ensure we decide who becomes the next president and other elective offices. We've seen success stories in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Tanzania, in Uganda, and even in Nigeria, where young people have mobilized effectively. And as we reflect, it's important to ask ourselves, what are some of those lessons we can learn from other countries? Sometimes the context is different. Some of these countries can be really small. Some of them are as small as just one state in Nigeria. But one thing I know for sure is that there are principles, there are lessons that we can take from other states, other countries, and apply them to us in Nigeria. If you look at Kenya, for instance, and when the last time I was in Kenya a few years ago, we were talking about police brutality. And I almost thought that I was still in Nigeria, because the same issues that we face around police brutality and how police just target young people, maybe just because or you have a nice haircut, or you have dreadlock, or something like that. But we can learn from each other and learn what our brothers and sisters in Kenya are doing to tackle police brutality, and we can also share some of our experiences with them as well. So what are some of the characteristics of meaningful youth participation, and how can we enhance and promote youth participation? One, we must ensure that it is rights-based. And what this means is that you can understand that political participation is a right. As citizens of Nigeria, we have a right to participate and ensure that our participation is full and meaningful. Not just the one that when there's a program, they'll say, we don't have any youth. They'll now bring one young man and put him at the side of the table. They will not give him or her or a young woman an opportunity to speak. That is just being tokenistic. You're just there for the pictures, and in the report they'll say, oh yes, we included young people. We also need to ensure that processes that affect young people are led by young people. Young people are consulted in the process. You cannot, for instance, say we're developing a youth strategy and not one single young person is consulted. And these standards must be transparent. You must respect the views of young people and be accountable. We need to build the capacity of individuals and organizations in such a way that they can meaningfully mainstream young people, whether it's in political parties, whether it is election management bodies like INEC, and even civil society organizations. We must also be mindful of the fact that sometimes we are also found wanting. And we must also ensure that it is grounded in an accurate understanding of the current state of youth in each context. So the way you might engage with a young person in Ebonyi might be different from the way you would engage with a young person in Yobe, or a young person in Lagos, or a young person in Nasarawa. So you need to understand the context in each state and use the understanding of that context to guide how young people participate, so that participation is effective. Before I wrap up, I'll just like to share a few stories and a few experiences so we can take some questions. Is that for those of us who don't know, and I hope most of us know, is we have elections in about a year, a little less than a year. And one of the things that I've seen, and young people, youth groups are starting to organize something, a Pvc Hangout. And I've seen it in Jos, I've seen it in Kaduna, I've seen it in Lagos. I think I saw it in Bauchi. I'm not sure. But what these do is to find a cool way. And when you call it a hangout, us as young people, we like to chill. We like vibes. But what these Pvc Hangouts are an opportunity for young people to come together. There's music, there's food, but also an opportunity for young people to register for their permanent voters cards. Now, I'm just going to take you back to my definition around leadership. And what this what the organizers of these hangouts are doing, as far as I'm concerned, is they are demonstrating leaders because they have taken responsibility. You know, nobody has given them a title. No one has said, oh, you're chairman of the youth council, or you're the chairman of the civil society in Kaduna, or Lagos or Jos. But young men and women have demonstrated leadership because they've accepted responsibility to enable others. And enabling others means you've provided an enabling environment, a PVC hangout. You know, you said, come, you've taken the responsibility to go to INEC and say, oh, I'm bringing young people together for a PVC hangout. All you need to do is to register them. I'm going to mobilize them. You know, so you're enabling others. The other part of this definition is to achieve purpose. And what is this purpose? You want to increase the civic participation of young people. You know? So remember, I said leadership is about accepting responsibility to enable others to achieve purpose under conditions of uncertainty. And when I look at examples like this PVC Hangout, it's leadership, accepting responsibility, enabling others. You're mobilizing young men and young women in your state and your local government to achieve purpose. The purpose is for them to register and collect their permanent voters cards and come out and vote next year, but under conditions of uncertainty. And what the conditions of uncertainty means is sometimes you don't know if you're going to succeed. I can come out today and say I'm organizing a PVC hangout in Sokoto, where I am currently. There's no guarantee that young people are going to come out and join my hangout. But under those conditions of uncertainty, Shewon can put out a call for application, and there's no certainty that people will apply. So every day, everything we do is under conditions of uncertainty. And sometimes, and I can tell you this, in your engagements, sometimes you will not do so well. You will not be successful all the time. But what is important for us is what are the lessons that we can learn? What can we learn from those experiences? And our colleagues who work around what we call monitoring and evaluation would ask, what are the lessons learned? What can we do better? How can we move forward? At this point, I'd just like to say thank you very much. That's the end of my very brief presentation. But I'm still here for a few more minutes to take questions and answer them. I'll try to do that as much as possible. But I'll hand the mic back over to the moderator, and the moderator can moderate that question and answer session for us.
Okay, Mr. Farouk, thank you so very much. It's nice listening to you. It's so awesome. Thank you for your time, your energy, your experience sharing with us. And I call it a dialogue session. Thank you so very much. I'm seeing people liking that phrase, PVC Hangout. Hello, can you hear me? Is somebody hearing me? Can I see a yes? Okay, interesting. Thank you. I see so many liking that idea that you just dropped, PVC Hangout. Please, just to share that you shouldn't wait for anybody to begin to call you. We have friends, so let's start it. Let's initiate the process and let's see who are going to support us. And so that is a responsibility. That is you accepting responsibility as a leader. So you heard from Mr. Farouk, leadership is accepting responsibility, enabling others to achieve a purpose. So please, let's start something. Let it not just be a training that you just want to have and get a certificate and that's all. Please begin to internalize this and begin to use what you have received from this training in our communities. I want to believe that one or two of us want to come out, want to be voted for. Please do something genuine for your community. Start from your community. So thank you so very much. It's question and answer time. Can I have questions? If you want to ask a question, can you raise your hand, or we'll unmute you, or you can drop the question on the chat box so that Mr. Farouk can do justice to that. Yes, he's sharing that he thinks, Mr. Farouk said, I think it's a great idea if all of us can start hold similar hangout in our communities, either at local government level or state level, even at world level, we can do that, right? Yes. And you want to contact me for more information. If you want to contact Mr. Farouk, Mr. Ibrahim Farouk, for more information, his email address is on the chat box. Fibrahim at yaga.org. F-I then Ibrahim at yaga.org. And on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, is at Ibrahim Farouk. So if you want to engage with him again outside of this training, please do so by following him on those social media platforms. Okay, I think I have a question here from Maina Gambo Jr. Sir, why are youth only running for youth leader offices in political parties and then only given offices related to youth in government? How can youth penetrate to other key offices?
Thank you very much for your question, Maina. I think that over time, and I said one of the obstacles that we face is that our political parties see some certain offices for some certain people only. And you've put it rightly in your question. Young people in political parties are only contesting for youth leader. The same way women are only contesting for women leader. One of the things that we would like to see, and for anyone who is in a political party, is start to contest for other offices within the political party. If you are a lawyer, for instance, why wouldn't you say, oh, I want to become the legal advisor of the party? You have the capacity, you understand the law, you understand the constitution, you understand the party constitution, you understand the manifesto. Your friends call you the law. So it means you're very knowledgeable, and you might be a member of a political party. Meanwhile, your legal advisor maybe does not know anything. Apologies to them. And you know that if given the opportunity, you can do a lot better. What is stopping you from saying, you know what, either at a local government level or at the state level, or even at the national level, if you want to, I'm going to become the national legal advisor of my party. And and competence, you'll be supported if you can start as a legal advisor, for instance, at the local government level of your party. When you have served for a while, you can now say, oh, I want to become state legal advisor. And you can back it up because you say, you know what, I have done this at the local government level, I've proven, I've shown capacity, and there's no reason why I should not be giving that. And it's the same thing with giving offices related to youths in government. It's very important to build the capacity of young people. And we've seen some young people in some places that have been given some appointments. Some have done well, some have not done so well, and we should tell ourselves the truth. But as a young person, if you build your capacity, you're very knowledgeable in your area. And sometimes you also need to have one or two connections here or there with the right people. But build your capacity, leverage your networks really well. And trust me, you're going to be given more than just essay on youth. In the chat box, I'm going to look at some of the answers. I can see Matthew saying, how can you stop some youths who sell their votes during elections? It's not up to me. The truth is that it is up to all of us. And I think for those of us who work around the areas of civic education, especially, is you need to educate your community around the dangers of selling their votes. If you sell your votes, then there's a problem. It means that you have sold your birthright for the next 4 years. You almost cannot hold your elected officials accountable. So everyone, as much as possible, yes, we understand sometimes things are hard. There's poverty, economic empowerment is very low. So young people are thinking about, oh, what can I get from this politician in 2023. But you know that when you sell your vote in 2023, you do not have any right to hold those elected officials responsible until 2027. So if they don't provide adequate representation, you cannot challenge them. And remember, civic engagement is not just coming out to vote. It's also engaging with political processes. It's holding elected leaders accountable, because it is you and I who will queue up under the sun in February and in March to ensure that they win. But when they win, if they just go to Abuja or go to the state capital and you cannot hear from them anymore, it's to hold them accountable. So please, every opportunity that you have, preach the message against vote buying. Please, I would encourage you to do so. I can see Damut Victor Silvanus. He said, should every youth be part of a political party? No, not every youth. Not everyone has to be a member of a political party. So there are some young people who are not members of political parties, but it does not mean that there are not areas where you can engage effectively. So if you want to join a political party, please join a political party of your choice. Campaign for the candidates of your choice, but we also advise, make sure there are candidates that have competence and character and credibility. But there are other ways that you can engage. There are young people who work in INEC, and INEC is a very important stakeholder when it comes to elections. And if you're a young person that is working as an election stakeholder, you just ensure that as much as possible, everything that you're doing, you're protecting the interests of other young people and you're protecting the interests of Nigeria. So whether you work in the media, even the way that you report your stories, imagine you work in the media and you're telling the story of another young person. You're saying, oh, this one is too young. He does not know anything. She does not know anything. No experience. You're not promoting young people in governance. If you're a young person and you're a police officer, and on election day, an older person is coming to rig against a younger person and you're supporting them, you're not promoting young people in governance. If you work in civil society, and you're not encouraging young people to come out and participate, to get their permanent voters cards, to collect it, to come out and vote on election day, you're not promoting young people's participation in governance and in our electoral process. So it's very important, as much as possible, to say wherever you are, you should provide effective leadership wherever you find yourself as a stakeholder in our electoral process.
Thank you so very much, sir, Mr. Ibrahim Farouk. I thought I saw a hand a while ago. I wanted to give the person to ask his or her question, but I cannot find that hand now. So at this point, I want to let Mr. Ibrahim Farouk off the hook. Thank you so very much for your time, sir. Thank you for always always being there, always responding to our call anytime. With bigger call. So thank you so very much, sir, for being to bigger engagement, bigger way that we can engage more with Yaga. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much. My email address is in the chat box. If you have any other questions after this, please do not hesitate to send me an email. I make this promise, and I know this call is being recorded, that if you send me an email, I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond to you. So please, Juliet, look, I can see you said, oh, sorry, you missed. But you can, please, do not hesitate at any time to send me an email. Just let me know that you are from this training where I spoke, you have a question. If there's any way that I can help, I can see some people were asking about how to organize a Pvc Hangout. I have not organized any myself, but if you need to speak to someone who has done so, I can find the contact for you or someone that can provide guidance for you. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. I still have one more session during this training program, so you will still hear from me.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so very much, sir. We appreciate for that wonderful presentation. For those of you asking how to organize a hangout or who we support, INEC are always ready to support you. Always ready, but not financially, not in terms of money. They are ready to come and share and give you awareness and support you wholeheartedly. Just write to them. They are ready to support you. For other organizations, yes, somehow, well, you just try it. It will also start your preparation and begin to come up with how you go about it. Then I think you'll be able to organize one. It's so simple, so simple. So you can do that. So thank you so very much, Mr. Farouk, for that wonderful presentation. So I need to let you go now. While I bring in the next facilitator. Like I said, the next facilitator will be talking on the next topic, which is engaging the Freedom of Information Act to promote good governance. And that person is none other person that one of our own, is one of our senior program officer, Mr. Sheung Justice Oneride, somebody who has been touring around the whole Northeast, North Central, educating the youths on the way forward. So you'll be listening to him, and this is not that person. I know you'll be listening to him, and so he's going to do justice to this very topic again, and he's coming up big this time around. So let's make welcome to Mr. Justice Sheung as you unmute yourself and start your session. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sheung will be coming on shortly. He just sent me a message now that he went off the device, the network kicked him out shortly. So let's wait for him while you continue asking some of your questions. Oh, somewhere Adeshida, right? Adeshida. Sorry, I didn't see that. You said you raised your hand. My apologies, please. Or can you send your question to his email address, or should I still unmute you for you to maybe speak? I didn't see that, so sorry, somewhere. Okay, Mr. Samuel, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good afternoon. My apologies. I didn't see that, please.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
What I just want to ask, with the way things are going, and many youths have believed, even right from the statistics. So, to me, one of the major reasons why I see that the youth are not involving in the politics, we take the statistics on the level of unemployment in Nigeria is about the youth are having about 65% according to the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. So now the Pvc Hangout. The question I want to ask is that won't the government see as a way to, you are using it as a second phase of entrance? That's just my question, because if this should go on in every part of Nigeria, won't the Nigeria system or maybe the Nigeria government see it as a way or as the phase two of the entrance whereby the youth are gathered, and before you know, some of these youths, although they're having a good interest, they have a good purpose for doing it, but some of them, they will use this as a platform to display unhealthy attitude, which even if there's government, if there's really some of the high neck officials there, the government also can even you can stop some of these activities. That's just my question. Just would the government use this as a platform to? Would the youth use this as a platform to display some of their unacceptable manner of government? Thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mrs. Samuel. I got your question. I would say yes and no. Yes, yes when it is not properly organized. But I want to tell you that Lead Thought in collaboration with YLN and Hike Peer, yes, we organized one in Bauchi here last month, and it was successful. And what you need to do when you are organizing such, don't take the aspect of the security personnel, the security agency out of that. At least that one was a hike. We use it as a peer hiking. It was an hiking that we use that one too. So, but if you are going on the street, you need the road safety. You need to write to the SSOs. You need to write to when you have the security personnel in such hangar avenue to perpetuate evil and antagonizing them, no, you are just complete to get their PVC. So I think that is just it. So without wasting of time, Mr. Sheon is online now. Sheon, can you unmute yourself and over to you? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Apologies for dropping out. My device needed to restart. I really enjoyed this meeting from the beginning, and well done for the wonderful moderation. Thank you. So friends, it's another wonderful time we'll be sharing together this afternoon. I believe that you are all ready and you're ready to roll with me. I know it's a session you not want to miss out. Every time when we talk of engage your government, engage your elected officials, the concern has always been, what are the strategies for engagement? I want to participate in the governance. What are the strategies for participation? Number one, a tool that is very, very necessary for participation in community life and in politics is information. You cannot participate if you don't have an information of what is happening. Remember when we're talking about advocacies, right? In advocacies, one of the strategies for doing any advocacy is to do your fact finding. Fact finding, you can do it through research, through studying, through visits, you study, you read. That's one of the major strategies for engagement. Let me tell you, democracies thrive on information. And if information is hidden, then we don't have democracy because we cannot have freedom. Do you all agree with me? Remember last week I was taking us to the 7 ingredients of democracy. That's what makes democracy work. I mentioned 7 things. Let me hear from you if you remember those 7 things I mentioned. Let me hear from you on the chat. Let me hear from you on the chat. If you remember some of those 7 ingredients that I mentioned as what makes democracy work. Yes, I'm waiting for your chat, everyone. Yes, I'm seeing one, equality. That's right. Yes, thank you, Shadi. More, if you remember what we did last week. Rule of law. Okay, another person, please. Yeah, okay. impartiality. You have some, I will just target fairness. Yes, equity and fairness is also part of it. Yes, so I mentioned many things. I mentioned accountability, transparency, participation, rule of law, equality, freedom. Do you all remember? I also mentioned competition. Yes, thank you all of you for your contributions. So these are the things that make democracy work. So my work this afternoon is to help you, equip you with the knowledge that you need or with the skill you need to get information from every public officer in Nigeria. Many of us, I believe we are troubled with so much questions. We are troubled with many questions. For instance, you ask questions like, what is the salary of my state governor? How much is the security vote that my governor was given? Where is the money going to? Okay, so for recruitment exercise that were carried out, how many people how many people applied? How many people were selected? You know, those information that are relevant for a public life and for safety of the community, the information that are necessary for each and every one of us to handle. For instance, you go to your community, you want to do something. It's important you have an information of what has been done already. What are the things that are on government records? You want to do a research work and you need to go back to the ministries or agencies of government or even private parastatals and ask them about certain information. What are the provisions that we have? What are the provisions that we have to engage these institutions? And that's what I want to talk to us about, the Freedom of Information Act. And I'll be focusing on the overview of the Freedom of Information Act and how to write them best. Are we together? Let me ask us quickly, how many of us have heard of the Freedom of Information Act before? Let me see. If no, put no. Yes, yes. Let me see on the chat box. How many of you have heard of the Freedom of Information Act? Okay, yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So that's fine. It means many of us will be learning it for the first time. And I'm going to be sharing with you a tool like this. Can everybody see my slide? What slide are you seeing present?
How to write a request.
Okay, it means I have to stop the screen share again. I hope I'll be pardoned again why it's happening like this. So you can see the second one now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. So now you can see the introduction. Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir.
So Freedom of Information Act, in Nigeria, we call it FOIA 2011. What does it mean? It generally provides that any person has the right to request for access to federal agency records or information, except to the extent that the records are protected from disclosure by any of 9 exemptions contained in the law. Now, let me make it simple. Freedom of Information Act is a law in Nigeria that allows anybody to request for any information for any institution, from any agency. Do you understand? So you can go as an individual and seek for any information. I'm going to be telling you the kind of information you can ask for, but you can ask for any kind of information except 9 exemptions that were given in the law. If time permits us, I'm going to be showing us the law and the 9 exemptions. Is that all right? If you're participating and you're excited about it, I like to be seeing reactions on chat room. Okay. So the Freedom of Information Act 2011 gives everyone the right to request information, whether or not contained in any written form, which is in the custody or possession of any public official, agency, or institution, howsoever described. Any institution of government, whether it is a commission for something, it is a ministry of something, it is an institute of something, it is a university of something, any public institution or agency or public official, the law gives you the opportunity to enter, request for information, and you're to be given. And you know what? You that is requesting the information does not need to show any specific interest in the information or justify your reasons for making the request. I've gone to ministries to ask for some information, and because of the insecure nature of our public service, you see the director of the PAMSEC or the staff, the senior officer asking you, why do you want this information? What do you want to use the budget for? You just, like I went to some years back in 2013, I went to one of the ministries. I went to Minister of Finance, Budget and Finance. Minister of Finance in Plateau State. It was not separated. So under it, we have the Department of Budget and Planning. So I went to the Director of Budget and Planning office, introduced myself. I told the person that I'm a Nigerian, I'm a young person. I reside in these states. I was residing in Plateau State that year. I reside in these states, and I know that government have been doing so much to support people to do a lot of work. But we young people, especially we citizens, especially young people, we don't always know what government is doing. So I've taken it upon myself to go to ministries and ask information, get information so that I can participate in any form of what government is doing. So I went there like as a citizen, not as an NGO worker, not as any association leader. No, I went there as a public citizen. You know, in Nigeria, a time has come when we have to uplift the office of the citizen as the highest office. The citizen has rights. So I went to when I went to the director, the next thing the deputy director asked us, what do you want to use the information for? Why do you need the information? You know, of course, I explained to him. But you see, the law does not state that the person asking the information doesn't have to be the president, doesn't have to be the House of Assembly member. So your personality or even your objectivity doesn't play in this line. So that's what the law provides. It provides that individuals have a right to request any information held by a public authority. So when you ask what kind of information can I request for, do you hear what the law says? Any information, any record that is held by any public authority. Authority in this case can be an individual or an institution. Any, except those 9 exemptions. Take note. And do you know what? The recorded information is not restricted to information that is in written form. It can also be information on record that does not exist in print, but can by regulation be produced from a machine. Maybe you want information, you want to go to you went to NTA or AIT or channels and say there's a particular public information video that you had on so event, and you request for it. The law also allows you to get that kind of information. It's not only information that is on print or that is in file, even information that is in other formats. Take note. So who can you make the request to? I made this simple so that by the time I just go through it, we can finish on time and you also understand. Any public official, agency, or institution, either legislative, executive, judicial, administrative, advisory, even boards, committees, commissions, any subsidiary body of these bodies, including but not limited to committees and subcommittees, which are supported in whole or in part by public funds or which expense public funds. So it includes every public institution, take note, including the security, including the military. So do you see that there is a law that is given that we have in Nigeria? The problem is that we don't know how to use the law, and many of the people in the civil service doesn't even know that a law like this exists. And how can I make a request? You can make the request orally or in written format, or you can use a third party. For instance, maybe you cannot read, you cannot write, but you need to request for an information. You can use someone. I can just go with somebody, and the person is my representative. and the person talks on my behalf, the person makes the request on my behalf. So this is an interesting thing, right? Is a request free of charge? I know many of you be thinking, because we've gone to ministries and requesting for information, they're asking for money. You see, request is free of charge. The only charge that the law says you should be charged, there are charges related to the administrative printing or production of that document. For instance, imagine the ministry has only budget to produce, to buy 2 reams of paper annually, and then more than 50 people are coming to request for information. You see, there's no budget for it. So the law understands that the ministry can be handicapped financially, administratively. So anybody that wants information, if the ministry doesn't have, the agency or the public authority doesn't have the resources to produce it, they should charge you for it. So the only charges for requests are limited to what? Standard charges for document duplication or fees for transcription when necessary. If you're asking that, okay, I want to have the list of those who were recruited in the civil service from 2010 to 2011, you know, that's the long form. Or you want to request, okay, I want to request for the mandate. Like, there was a time we were requesting for the mandate that established certain agency. Maybe you guys, okay, I want the mandate that established the Bauchi State Commission for Youth and Sport. For instance, we want the law. Can we have a copy of the law? You can be charged the cost of duplicating, that is photocopying the law. If it is in video format, maybe you want a video from me agency and you want it in written format. If they need to get somebody that will transcribe it for you, you should be the one to pay for it, not the government. So that is the provision that the law has put in place. When can my application be refused? Yes, so now I'm coming to some of those classified information. Okay, so let me stop the sharing and start again because of the write-up on the screen. I think by somebody. Okay, so when can your application be refused? You know, if the law that gives opportunity for you to get information, the law also tells us certain information that should be rejected. And there are conditions that make those documents to be closed or for you to be rejected, for you to be turned down from receiving those documents. Number one, if you're requesting for classified information for national defense or foreign policy. For instance, you wrote to the Nigerian military and asking them, want to see your tactics documents for fighting Boko Haram. You see, these are documents that should be classified. These are documents that can jeopardize the national security. So those documents are protected by the law. They can't be released unless on certain conditions, which the law also gives. Internal personnel rules and practices. Like you just go to a particular ministry and you're asking for somebody's file. You just say, can I have Mohammed's file? For what reason? Mohammed's file is personal. It's a personal file. So why should you give Mohammed's file to someone? Or you go to the bank and you tell the bank, please, I want to know how much is in this account. Is it your account? No, it's not my account. I want to pay to that account. No, it's not your account. So the bank does not have the obligation to share with you the information of any customer because those information are personal and to those customers. Then there are some other information exempted under the law. Some other reasons why your application can be turned down is if it includes trade secrets and confidential business information. Like I used to hear a story that the Coca-Cola formula that is not shared publicly. So many companies that have reason to try to make that, to produce things like Coca-Cola products are failed. They said that formula is closed. So no matter how many times you write to the government of Britain or to any government and asking them, I want from the trade registration or from the, if it is Nigeria, for instance, right now that, please, from the registration for this company, can you share with us the things that are part of the ingredients that they use to make this product? NAFDAC or any of those companies will turn you down because they are trade secrets. The only time, you see, the law is unique. As the law gives condition for closing them, the law also gives condition when it can be opened. For instance, if the trade secret is needed to be known for the sake of national security, that information will be open. For instance, maybe there is a food poisoning that came from eating Indomie, you understand? And so in that case, the law can mandate INEC, NAFDAC to review the ingredients that they use in making Indomie that were approved by law. Do you understand? Because there was a food poisoning, and that closing that document will be more harmful to the people than opening it up. So these are some of the conditions when your application can be refused. The other ones are interagency or interagency letters that are protected by legal privileges. Then some are personnel and medical files, law enforcement records or information concerning bank supervision, even geological and geophysical information. Those information are protected by law. They can only be opened on certain conditions. Next question. What happens if my request is refused? Maybe you follow the law and you requested for an information and then you're turned down. The law says any applicant who has been denied access to information or a part thereof may apply to the court for a review of the matter within 30 days after the public institution denies or deemed to have denied the application. So if you made a freedom of information request for freedom of information using the FOI Act to a particular agency, and they turn you down, if they tell you, no, we can't give you that information, and you know that by the law has covered you, within 30 days, just you can table this thing before the court. So the applications to the court are heard summarily. This is to ensure that the prompt and expeditious disposal of the case. So it doesn't have to go through a long process. Immediately, you can just get a court's response to this thing. If the court finds that the request should have been denied, should not have been denied, the defaulting officer or institution who commits this offense is liable on conviction to a fine of 500,000. Apart from that 500,000 fine, the court will order that the information be released as per the request. Are you seeing this? So if for instance, I request for a particular information that is very important for my work, and the agency denied me, and they shouldn't have denied me, they denied me that information. If I charge them to court and the judge discovered that I am right and they denied me this information, that person who is in charge or the ministry who turned it down, they are going to be charged 500,000 naira. And when they charge them 500,000 naira, they will also order them. They also order them to release information to you. That's not all. It should be noted that it is a criminal offense punishable on conviction by the court with a minimum of 1 year imprisonment for any officer or head of government or public institution to which this act applies to willfully destroy any records kept in his custody or attempt to doctor or otherwise alter same before releasing the information. You know, there are times that you make your FOI request to government or to a particular office. I know what will happen. They will just go and change the information, or they will lie about it, or they will go and destroy the information and tell that it doesn't exist. If it is proven that the ministry or a person did this, that person is going for 1 year imprisonment, and there may many other things will come up. So the next question is, now I believe many of you are now thinking, so how can I make a request? How can I make a request? Number one, before you make a request, look on the internet. Be sure that the information you're interested in is not in the public domain. Before, so many years ago, when we need the budget, like that time when I went to look for the budget of Plateau State, I actually left that ministry with a complete document of Plateau State budget for 2012. They had not printed one of 2013. So they now begged me, please take the one of 2012. When we print one of 2013, we'll call you and let you know, even though they didn't call me. So now, you don't have to write to Minister of Finance or to any government institution requesting for the state budget. You don't have to do that. Why? Because the information is in the public domain. So before you write any freedom of information, go online, search everywhere, search the library to be sure that the information is not already made public. That's one. If the information you want is not publicly available, then you can now submit an FOI request to the agency's FOI office. So the law insists that every of the ministries or institutions must have Freedom of Information Act desk officers, even though it's not fully implemented in many of the institutions. But you can still write and submit to the administrative heads of any of those institutions. And the request simply must be in writing and reasonably describe the records you see, right? So you write it, and when you're writing it, include your name, your address, and your phone number so you can easily be contacted if it is available. Then also describe the record you want. It should be identified as specific as possible. Don't say these records. Mention the record you want. And not just say, you don't say, okay, I want the recruitment file of Bauchi State. You see, it's still not specific. You need to tell us recruitment file from so year to so year. Yes, we understand it's more specific. You can even say for so ministry. You see, it's more specific. So every of your requests should be specific. Specific records can be processed much more quickly than a request for all information on the particular subject. So take note of that, right? Then separate requests should be submitted for each firm, product or class of information involved. If you're requesting for certain information, there's information that you can't get from one place completely. You have to get from different institutions. For instance, information on election results. Like recently, we are compiling a database of young people who contested elections at different levels. So you see, it's important that you separate those requests. For instance, for every federal institution, your requests can be made through INEC. But for local governments like the councillors and the chairmanship elections, if you write to INEC, you won't get anything from INEC. So who should you write to? You write to SIEC, that is State Independent National Electoral Commission, right? Then statement concerning willingness to pay fees, you should also tell them. You should also tell them that you are willing to pay any fees that the request is going to be costing, right? So FOI requesters may have to pay fees covering some of the costs of processing your request. Requesters may want to include the maximum amount of money that they are willing to pay. I'm going to be sharing with you a format for writing. I will share with you a sample letter that you can use to write and request for information. So what can I ask for under the law? If a request can be made for any agency record, you can also specify the format in which you wish to receive the record, either printed or electronic. Specify, you want it sent to your mail or you want it printed. And there is a special form I have to use to make a FOI request. There's no form, but you can follow a format to make your work easier. Then I'm going to be skipping this part of the message, right? I'm going to be skipping it. Okay, so let's come towards this part of the last part of my presentation. Let's look at the sample letter of request for freedom of information. I believe all of you can see this, right? You can see what I have online. So you see this is your address. Put your name, your address, your phone number, right? Then on this other side, name of the public institution agency and the address, or the name of the person you are addressing it to. Then you put your date, then your dear sir or madam. Then you put your subject, request for information under the Freedom of Information Act 2011. The above matters refers. By virtue of the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act 2011, I am hereby requesting that you provide me with the following information. So you now list the specific information that you need. When you are finished listing it, you can now continue by saying, I understand that under the Acts, I am entitled to a response within 7 working days of your receipt of this request. And I look forward to receiving this information within the permitted time frame. Now, take note of the other part. I am willing to pay for any fees which are incurred as a result of complying with this request. But I remind you of the provisions of Section 8 of the Act, which clearly states that fees, so you now take that part of the law that says a fee, like it shall be limited to standard charges for document duplication and fees transcription where necessary. Because it's from some places when you tell them you're willing to take the cost of the fees, maybe they are just to print 10 pages for you, they will tell you to print 10,000 naira. And if you want, is it 1,000 naira to print 1 page of document? So it's important you tell them that the law says the fees shall be limited to standard charges for document duplications or transcriptions where necessary. So it's good you do that with public agencies before they cut huge money for you. Then you can continue with the letter on this side. If upon the request of my request, the decision is taken to transfer the request to another agency, I request that you provide me with written notice of this in the manner as prescribed by the Act and within the prescribed time frame. You see, sometimes you may send a letter to a ministry and they'll tell you, you don't address this kind of matter. This is the agency or this is the office that addresses it. If they are moving it, they should communicate it. That's what it's saying. If a request is denied in whole or in part, I request that you justify such denial and all deletions by reference to specific exemptions of the Act. I reserve the right to appeal your decision as guaranteed by the Act and remind you of the provisions of the Act, which states that any request not actioned within the prescribed time frame will be deemed as a denial of the request. And any wrongful denial of request makes the defaulting officer or institution liable to a fine of 500,000 naira. If you require any clarification, I expect you to contact me. Please acknowledge the receipt of this request, and I look forward to receiving the information in the near future. Yours faithfully, and you put your name. I believe that this is very clear, right? Okay, so are we together, everybody? Yes, so now I believe this is clear. Very clear, yeah, thank you very much. So this is about Freedom of Information Act. These are the informations that you can request for and the processes for requesting for them. And you see, this letter is just a template. You can make your letter unique by understanding the agency that you're writing to. If you write this kind of formal letter to some agencies, they will just, some agencies are very stubborn, even with the provisions of the law. They will just put it down. Do you understand? They will just pull it down. However, if you can, like some government agencies, right, to just tell them, yeah, you're doing a good job, you're doing this, like the approach I used with the Ministry of Finance, and we want to participate in, need this information for this and this purpose, for this research purpose, the information is going to be shared on this. You assure them that it's not going to implicate them, because Nigerians, the civil service is yet to get acquainted, like to get conditioned to a modern way of doing things. You get me? So we need to be innovative and creative with every work that we're going to be doing. Is that all right? Okay. So I think I'm going to stop here. Mr. Nicholas, if anybody have a question, I have an assignment for them. I want every group to go and look for the data protection law and also read it. It will when you read it, you can have a time to do the review in your group. And if you're good enough to share your reviews with us, we'll really appreciate. Is that all right? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yes, thank you for your responses. Mr. Nicholas, over to you, sir. Mr. Nicholas, can you hear me? Okay. So maybe while Mr. Nicholas is trying to come on, can I receive questions if you have questions? Okay. I'll give room for some people to speak. Okay. Finborn is asking, when is information said to be available for the public? Yes, a lot of information are in the public when you search online and you find them. Some are made available in the libraries. There are libraries in the government house. There are libraries in some ministries. So they put some of those information there for anybody to come in to the ministry and access them. You get, why some are left inside the archive. You can't just go and ask for any information. But some ministries, if you enter some agencies, you see a library where you can inspect things, you can check things out. So information are made available there. Some are on the internet. Like, for instance, every report of Bauchi State, so of all the most of the states, Ministry of Finance and Budget, you can access them online. Are you getting me? You can access them online. You can access financial reports, the audit reports. You can know how much Bauchi is spending, how much Bauchi spends within so period to so period. You can access all of them. So, okay, how long does it take information to be available in the public domain? Well, particularly current information. You see, first of all, take note that not all information are available in the public domain. Some of them are in the public domain when the ministry thinks they need to put them there. You requesting for freedom of information is that you need a particular document per time and you did not see it in the public domain. So you went to the ministry to request for them. Do you get it? So current information might not be there. Do you know why we have our current budgets online? It's because of a program. We're going to be hearing a little about it in a few weeks' time, like next week, when we'll be looking at the issue of budget. We'll be looking at some programs called the Open Government Partnerships, and we'll also be looking at a program called the State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program, right? So these programs, they are grants that came with condition that make all the state governments to put up accountability measures. For instance, engaging the citizens in public budget hearing. Some of you realize that for the past few years now, state governments now do budget hearing at senatorial levels. You understand? They now have citizens' budgets that they are revealed to the public. So it's because there is a law that there is a program that mandates them to put these things online within so period. For instance, by end of this month, all the states will put on their website you put on their website the citizen budget. By next month, they are going to be putting on their website another document called the Citizen Accountability Report. You understand? By September, they put up some documents. So it's because of a program. So these documents are not always available in the public domain. If you still go to the ministry, you see the file they wrote secret on top of those files, right? So we need to recondition the mind of our civil service that we are in an era of transparency, accountability, and openness. So they need to start changing their mindset. So it's a gradual process that we'll continue to do, right? Aguna Tata says, what kind of information should be requested at the local government agency? The same law that I just read to you, you can also apply it at the local government. They are all public institutions, whether at the state, federal, or local government levels, right? There is a federal law. So it's applicable even at that level. Is that okay? Okay, Mr. Nicholas is back. Okay, so Fimbong is asking, please, is it possible to also obtain information from private ministries or organizations? I am not very sure, but some time ago when I was doing a research on the Public Freedom of Information Act, I also discovered that the Freedom of Information Act covers even some private institutions. That is why governments can write to private institutions requesting for certain information. So, but I have not studied it to know if you can write as an individual to private institutions. Of course, you can write to many institutions, especially when what you want to do has a public implication or is going to also contribute to the development of the country. Is that all right? Okay, Mr. Nicholas, over to you. I don't know if there are any more questions. Okay, sorry. Hold on, please. Okay, yes, Mr. Nicholas is back. I need to, okay. Yes, go ahead, sir. I think there's a question now.
Okay, so thank you, Justin.
Okay,
Done
I think there are two
justice
questions
to,
there.
to that. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so thank you so very much. Yeah, you can go on. If you are seeing the questions, just go ahead and respond to them.
Okay. Abubakar Mohammed says, Tajuddin says, please, sir, can we use the same method to ask information from our legislators at National Assembly? Yes. Any public authority, you can use the method to ask. Most private institutions will not be willing to share private information with individuals. Well, not they are at different levels, right? So that is one of the reasons why we are raising awareness of these laws. You see, we need to raise awareness for these laws. If you don't raise awareness for these laws, people will not know that it's there, and we will be the ones to keep suffering. Are we together? So let's raise awareness of these laws, right? Let's raise it. It's very, very important. Okay, so I just made a confirmation now. So the Act applies not only to public institutions, but also to private organizations who are providing public services or performing public functions or utilizing public funds. Do you get it? So maybe you're running an hospital, for instance, and the hospital is serving the public. You understand? You're doing a public service there. That is, you're not just doing your own family business. Do you understand? You know, you can have a family foundation, it's only happening to families and families. But any institution that is being opened and people from the public come and use it, you can request for freedom of information from any one of those people. The law applies to them. So I just made that confirmation. Is that all right? Okay, do we have any more? Okay. That's good. I'm happy to know that many of you are getting to know about this law for the first time. Okay, Mr. Nix, I don't know if there is any more before we round up. Probably as we plan to round up, let me share something with all of you. Where is it? Okay, give me some seconds. I'm going to be forwarding the law to your respective, to you on the mail, so that you can also have it, right? It's not law, it's not, I think it should be 20-something pages. The act is not the Freedom of Information Act. It's not one complex, it's not one complex thing. Excuse me. Few seconds. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'll be sharing it now. Okay, Mr. Nix, if there are any question why it's coming up, I guess we can take it. If there is none, we can just round up, since I'll still be sharing it on the Vegas WhatsApp group. Okay, so I believe you can all see this, right? So this is the Freedom of Information Act. You see, it's just 10 pages, you can imagine. So it's not even a heavy document. You can review this within a short time. So since I still have time, Yes, I still have time for my presentation. Let me give us just 7 minutes to just go through it quickly, right? So this is the second page of the law. These are all the preambles. So where I will just go to, I will just go to the exemptions. So look at number 8. It says fees shall be limited to standard charges for documents duplication and fees transcription when necessary. And it mentioned the 500,000 naira for any institution or anybody that wrongfully deny access to information. See, so this is the law. So, and this law mandates that every public institution, government institution, should ensure that it keeps every information on record about its operation. If you go to a law institution, an institution, and you ask for a record and they don't have it, that institution will be sanctioned. So there's every public institution is supposed to keep records, right? And these records should be stored and compiled. So the law is simple, easy to read, like I told you. Make sure you find time to go through it, right? So look at Article 15, subsection 1. A public institution shall deny application for information that contains the secret information of the disclosure, which could reasonably be expected to interfere with the contractual or other negotiation of a third party, proposals or bids, contracts, right? No, many of us, we just take somebody's proposal and start sharing it with others. That is wrong. Do you understand? So these are some of the things that the law says can be denied. A public institution may deny, look at Article 19, may deny an application for information that contains information pertaining to what? Test questions, scoring keys, right? Examination data. Imagine because you have Freedom of Information Act, you now write to JAM that you want to see the questions that are going to be setting this year. You know, that is funny, right? So you can't do that. Take note of all these things, right? So these are things covered by law that should not be reviewed. And there are some other ones that include information on security and so on. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop here. It's nice that we're also going to be closing the meeting earlier today. Okay, Mr. Benjamin Ame, you can, you wanted to say something? Right? So over to you quickly, please, so I can round up.
All right, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please, I wanted to take advantage of the platform to appreciate the team, or particularly your section, Mr. Sheung. We discovered that a good number of us are not aware that this law exists. And to some extent, we have been denied the privilege of having access to this vital information for research or for personal consumption or maybe presentation too. I want to add one or two to your presentation quickly that I think will be helpful to my other participants. Like you said, there are some classified information that we may not know that we are not supposed to request for. So I'm thinking one way to know some of this classified information is to make your desire for such information known to some of the colleagues, like our participants in this group or our resource persons. We have your contact. I can ask, I'm about to request for an information. Is this classified? So that we don't make a fool of ourselves in the name of we have idea of the Freedom of Information Act, because there are some information we are not entitled to because they are classified. You cited example of exam questions and all of that. Then secondly, I feel there are some public institutions like the Bureau of Statistics. I'm sorry, I'm calling names. There's a way they drag the request so that you can pay them for those information. If you give them a clue that you need this information for research work, they begin to drag you, come back, until you're frustrated. Then you get a clue that they want you to sort them or pay for something. So I love the format that Uncle Shion showed us. I discovered that the format contained an impression that you're giving to this organization, that you are aware of this act and you are aware of your right. And if there is any unnecessary delay, you are also well informed of the next step to take. So when we include it in our request, it gives the institution the knowledge that this person requesting is well informed of his right and also well in tune with the act itself, so that they will not drag us into sorting, bribery, or paying for information that we're entitled to on a free note. So thank you so much. I'm grateful. And thanks for the wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I agree with Mr. Ben. It's good you make leverage on relationships. You see, don't play with your networks. There are several information that we share among our networks, especially when you belong to certain different classes of communities of practice. You get access to some information that makes things easier for you. And then I also realized that the public offices they need to be engaged in this with this Freedom of Information Act. Many of them don't know it. Do you know that many people are taking on 500,000 from some private companies using the Freedom of Information Act? They deny you just charge them to court. If you have a lawyer that can do it for you or fight for you within a short time, if you have your evidences and everything, you win. And the institutions are made to compulsorily compensate for what they did. You understand? So you can engage these systems very well. In Abuja, many of the agencies in Abuja and Lagos are they have an idea of Freedom of Information Act. So you can get your information easily from them. Some institutions like INEC, by virtue of engagement of international organizations and civil society organizations, their capacity has been strengthened. So if you write to INEC in Abuja, for instance, they understand. Immediately they will tell you, sorry, we acknowledge that we received your letter request for this information. Kindly bear with us. This period we are busy, but after so time, we're going to treat your letter. At least they understand that they don't want to be sued. INEC have been sued multiple times. So they have a strong administrative and legal framework to ensure that they don't enter into trouble. So we need to strengthen even public institutions so that they can also be prepared to respond to any request from any citizen. Okay, the last person I'm seeing his hand is Ambassador Bashir Mustafa Yusuf. Kindly unmute yourself. Okay, I think I've seen Bashir's question. Okay, so Bashir, the assignment is that as a group, just look for the excuse me, data protection law, download it, share it with your group members. You can find time to review it as a group and share some of your thoughts on the data protection law, right? I'm also going to be adding another one. I'm going to be sending to you the Freedom of Information Act. Study it also and review it. I would love to see that a group take advantage of this act and the request for a particular information and they get it. I would like to see that being done. Is that all right? So probably as a group, sit down, think what information is relevant for the work you want to do. Then check if the information is public or it's not public. If it's not public, then you can write to the relevant agency. Let them note it for you. Is that all right? Let them write to them requesting for the information. And that settles it. Is that all right? Okay, thank you very much. I enjoyed in fact, I've been enjoying the sessions. Tomorrow is going to be another amazing day. Mr. Nicholas, over to you, sir.